Okay folks, in this video we're going to talk about expansions to Flashpoint Fire Rescue. We're going to talk about urban structures and second story. Are these expansions good enough for your base game? Let's find out. Alright, so the first expansion we're going to look at is the urban structures one. As you see, it comes with just a new map here of an area here. This is a high-rise place, office buildings everywhere. There are these elevators. They're fortified so that fire can't get through them. They can't be destroyed. This is your entry and exit points. As you see, there is no ambulance this time. There's only the fire truck that can be moved around and shoot up and try to put out fires. So once you get them to the elevator and you essentially rescue that victim who is there. There's a few extra things they have which you can see through here. Some of the light blue, maybe you can't see them. Those are really weak, which means just one damage marker can bust through that wall. On the other side of it, they have this great apartment here. As you see, there's two entrances here and two on the end and nothing in between. You would actually have to chop through this wall here to get into the other apartment, but they're just two separate apartments that you're going through and saving people. And there's only two exits, unlike the other ones where they have exits on the north and south. You can't even allow firefighters up here at all. So only on the sides here, on the ends, is where you can do it. So they make it a lot more difficult. Now, an extra character they added in urban structures is the instructional engineer. And as you can see, he can do a lot of special things. He can actually clear those POIs. So for one action point. So if you have like more than one out on the board, you can actually move your instructional engineer out there and they can remove that with one of their action points. One of the other things you see you can do here is repair some of the walls there. And you can return a damage marker back to the pool. Remember, if you run out of these in the game, you're basically dead. The whole house caved in on itself. But with the structural engineer, he can actually repair. He's the only person that can make repairs to it. Now it costs him 2 action points, but he can repair the damage to those walls and give you a fighting chance if the house is falling on around you. So again, that's a very interesting person and player to have in the game that they've added. The next expansion is called Second Story. Basically, this just adds extra stories to your game. You can add them to the game. As you see the little half boards, this is the attic. This is the basement here for that one. Different things and rules to set up here. Again, the attic. As you see, it'll tell you how to go downstairs. If you go downstairs here, it's 2-2. And of course, it's 2-2 on the regular board to go up it if you want to go into the attic. Same thing with the basement. There should be a staircase telling you exactly where you're needing to go to get down to this square of the basement. And as you see, there's various things to go through there. Now, one of the things it has, if you notice here, it has these little blue slanted lines through all these. What those count for is those are windows. You can actually break a window and move down into the basement, or break a window and move up to the attic. Now, how would you move up to the attic from the first floor? Well, they also give you these ladder tokens. And every firefighter will have a ladder token, and it costs certain action points to move victims up and down it, to rescue them, to collapse it and move it somewhere else if you need to move it. Once you set it up though, any fireman can use it. So what I could do, for example, is basically set up a ladder right here on this floor, crack open that window and jump right in with my action points that I have. This basically adds just an extra level of difficulty. If you want to add a basement, of course you could just flip this over, make this the basement you use, make this the attic. As you see, they're different. And the game tells you about how fire can go through these and how to play with either an attic or basement or both. Like I said, you can mix and match. It just adds that extra level of complexity in your game. By the way, I forgot to mention that Second Story also comes with an explosion marker. You can actually put that on top of the fire that you hit again. You're going to do an explosion. This thing comes in handy a lot of times when there's a lot of fire on the board and you're trying to space out where the fire is spreading out to from all 4 corners. You get lost on which fire token it was. So this makes it a lot easier to determine where the explosion took place. Now, I like this, but we don't use it in our games that much. We forget to use it because, yeah, it's probably unnecessary, but I bet a few people had trouble figuring out where the fire was. It does make it easier, so maybe I can start incorporating this in more of our games as we move on. But that's a really neat thing to have a little explosion marker to go with your game. Okay, so as you can see, it's a very brief overview here. because there's other videos that can do gameplays through them. But I just wanted to give you just the fun facts of what each one had and if it was worth it. My different thoughts on this. As you know, Flashpoint, I do love that game. These expansions are both actually worth your time. If I was to pick one I like best, maybe Urban Structures over Second Floor, even though I think Second Floor is a really cool idea and I like the use of ladders and windows. Getting that structural engineer is really cool. Unfortunately, the structural engineer doesn't get much love in my team. My team doesn't really like playing with him because he can't fight fires. I don't think I mentioned that on the card, but it says at the bottom there, he can't fight, smoke or fire tokens, which does suck. So basically, you're bringing him in when the game's almost lost. He can't walk through fire, so you have to get him to those areas, but he can repair those damaged areas if someone can put out all those flames. So he's like one of those emergency characters you bring in at the last minute to save the day. Someone to start with may not be good. Even though we, of course, to our house rules, we actually have had someone play him the entire time, and it wasn't too bad. We actually did pretty good. He serves some interest because for getting rid of the POIs, right? The point of ignitions, he really does help out that way. So just like the hazmat guy, the structural engineer works exactly the same. He's there for certain instances and certain cases where you really need him. But I love these two expansions. I'm really happy I got them. But like I said, out of the two, Urban Structures would win for me. But Second Story, just as fun. All right, gamers, that's all the time I have for today. Until next time, game on.